ought to be concerned about, or at least be aware, not necessarily concerned, but be aware about regarding the COVID-19, aka Corona, and some of the precautions that you need to take while you're working. So I'm just going to read off this visitor health screening questionnaire that signing agents have been giving us when they've been giving it to us if you accept the job, and you need to print it, and you can ask these questions before you call. So I believe I have posted the questions into the group, but let me read you the letter and then we'll talk about the question. So, as concern over the COVID-19 coronavirus continues to grow, the mortgage finance industry and the National Notary Association is instituting new temporary recommendations and guidance for both signing agents, signers, borrowers to reduce the risk of exposure. Please complete and sign this screening questionnaire and submit to your contracting party before this signing assignment. Your participation is essential to help us take precautionary measures to protect you and everyone in this environment and setting. So the borrower needs to sign, and then you also need to sign as well on this health screening. So what I do is, when I get the job and I know I'm going to accept the job, I call beforehand, just like you would call any other time, and I find out, make sure that they have their ID, make sure all their signers are going to be there, and make sure all the signers are going to be there if they need witnesses. I go through all of that. Once all of that is established, then I say, as growing concerns with the COVID-19 coronavirus, I am required to ask you a couple of questions. And they say, okay. And then I just go in. Have you or your household family members returned from international travel within the last 14 days? And then yes or no. And then I can check yes or no. Have you or your household family members had close contact with or cared for someone diagnosed with COVID-19 within the last 14 days? You say yes or you say no. Or your client, right? Have you or your household family members experienced any cold or flu-like symptoms in the last 14 days? Fever, cough, sore throat, respiratory illness, difficulty breathing? Yes or no? Okay. Now, if anyone answers yes to any of the following questions, notary service can be denied. That's just it. End of story. We aren't trying to put ourselves in any crazy type of situation, but I just did a porch signing. And that's how it is at this point. A lot of these restaurants aren't open, right? Cafes aren't open, and even if they are open, you can't sit in them. So if we know that, right? If we know that information, the libraries are closed. All of our regular meeting places are closed. I actually do have a location where individuals can meet me at, but we're still doing some constructions. We had a leak in there, blah, 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 blah. So I'm not meeting clients in there as of now. But if you know of this information that you're not able to meet your clients at the specified place or at your regular stopping places, then the next question you want to find out is if they have a porch. Consider the weather too. You both need to consider the weather, because if your client does agree to do a porch signing, you want to make sure that it's warm enough, because today is not as warm as it was yesterday, right? It was really, really nice yesterday. And it's not like that today. So it's a little bit more chillier. So you have to make sure that you have enough clothes on to do a porch signing. So I did a porch signing today I did a couple of porch signings, and it's fine. It's just I overdress anyway. I always have multiple layers on, even in the summer. I just overdress, because I feel like if I get hot, I can always undress. But if you're cold, you got to find some clothes to put on. So I did a porch signing today. When I got there, these were the first questions that I reiterated and checked off, and then had the client sign, and it was perfectly fine. And then you do need to remember, when you ask these questions, you need to answer them as well. So you have to say to them, after they say no to all of them, you say, my answers are no for each of them too. So I went to one of the ladies' house. She was 77 years old. She told me in advance no to everything. Then as I got to sit down with her on her porch, she begins to tell me that she had flu-like symptoms a couple of weeks ago. And I was just like, just because I said 14 days, I guess it didn't ring in her mind. But either way, she was still sniffling and everything. I didn't wear a mask, but we were outside. We had our 3 feet in between us. And I also... What is going on? And I also had gloves. I wore gloves through the whole signing. And it didn't bother me, but just people don't take into consideration. And I felt bad for her because her teeth were chattering and she was really cold. And I tried to, I checked in with her like, are you okay? Do you need to go in and get a scarf? Do you want to go and get a hat? That kind of thing. But she declined. And I really honestly just rushed her. I'm not going to lie. I rushed her through the signing because of her. She needed it. Like, she wasn't going to survive. Like, her hands were getting cold, and turning all pink. So just keep that in mind. So basically the premise of this is to understand that there is now a health screening questionnaire that you need to mention to your clients during your confirmation appointment. Then there is a form that needs to be filled out once you get to the client's house. Wear your gloves, wear your mask. Don't worry, people aren't freaked out about it for the most part. They want to take precautions just like you want to take precautions. So do consider that. The bank is considered an essential job. So the banks are open. It's just the courts aren't open, right? So if you're dealing with, I do a lot of courier services. So if you're doing courier services back and forth to the bank, your business will diminish in that way. But I will do another video where we're talking about other types of notary work that will be a little bit more safe to do in terms of the market versus doing courier work. Courier work is like dead right now. Process serving work is dead right now. You can't do any of that stuff. Inspections are booming still because the banks are open, and inspections for the most part are attached to banks because the reason why people do inspections is so they can get funding. So that part of the business is still up and booming. The signing agents aspect of the business is still up and booming. It's just that people aren't really thinking about their rates as much when they should, especially when you're getting like close to 1% interest rate. Like today, I think one was 2.25, one was 2.27, something of that in that range, like really low 2% range for the interest rate. So it is a good time to do it. But I think people start thinking, well, I don't want anyone in my house. So they don't think to refinance or do anything like that right now. But this is the best time to think about it. And if you yourself are looking to do something like that, I would do it. And don't be afraid to tell the signing agent. And most of us are informed, so we know that porch signings, driveway signings, that's just what we're doing right now because that's what it's being called for at the moment. And once you complete all of that, you hand it in just with your rest of the paperwork, and you should be fine. But that's really it. I wanted to just make sure, like, your business doesn't stop completely just because of what's going on. You just have to take precautions during this process. If you want to stop your business completely, that is up to you. If you want to start sending other people out instead of you, that's up to you. But, as I go into the house right now, I didn't enter anyone's house, but I never wear my shoes in the house anyway. So if these are things that you're not used to doing, you might want to implement, like taking your shoes off before you get into the house. If you're sitting down on people's couches and things of that nature, because as we know that the virus can stay up to 3 hours on certain surfaces, right? So we have to be mindful of that. Like when I go, very often I'm always wearing an additional scarf. I was choking on my spit, y'all. I was choking on my spit. So I usually wear an additional scarf, and when I do that, I will take that scarf off and I'll sit it down on the seat that I am going to sit on, especially if they have pets or anything like that. And then I'll take the scarf and then I'll, sit it to the side and maybe leave it for the next house that I have to go to. And I never put it back on my neck or anything like that. And then when I come home, I just gather my stuff together and I put it right in the wash. It's just a habit that I've been doing for many, many years, and it works for me. No shoes in the house, things of that nature, no outside clothes on your bed, regular precautions that you would normally take whether the virus was around or not. You can do small chatting about what's happening, but I do a tiny bit, and that's it. Like, I try to shy away from certain topics just because I'm a conspiracy theorist and people don't really want to hear what I have to say anyway in regards to it, because it's not incongruent with mainstream media. So you would think, oh, that girl is crazy. So it's certain conversations I just don't have with people because it's going to be way over their head, and it's a bit much for the average person. So I keep my thoughts to myself. But, we're going into just life in itself being, just taking precautions, but not being fearful. Like, I don't deal with a lot of fear anyway, but even right now, I'm still not fearful, right? I'm still taking my herbs and my supplements and things of that nature. My children, if you have anyone who has like a lot of mucus, make sure you clear the mucus and then focus on, the just having healthy lungs and respiratory system in itself. But other than that, that is pretty much it. I'm going to do a whole bunch more videos because I have so much to talk about, questions that I haven't answered for months from individuals. And so I will do some more. If you have any other additional questions, you can always put it in the comment section. I'll come back to it and possibly do a video, but always answer you in the process. But I'm really curious to know what's going on with you all. What are you doing? What are you not doing? What are you fearful about? What are you not? Like, are you still getting clients? Are you not? Are you taking them and or not? Like, what's going on with your business? Talk to me. All right. Peace and love. Talk to you soon. Peace.